Those were very kind words of introduction. Really appreciate that. It's bright and early morning for me, and so I'm glad I'm starting the day with amongst friends. It feels very nice. Um, so basically, most of my talks have always been delivered in English, but when you are amongst friends, then Hindi will come through because there's that natural आत्मीयता जो हिंदी की है वो किसी और भाषा की नहीं है मेरे लिए. So I don't take it otherwise. It is not that I'm, because many times what happens is with an Indian audience you say you want to speak in Hindi, they will say यार ये समझता है हमें अंग्रेजी समझ में नहीं आती क्या. But that's not the point. It is because me, I feel the need and the urge and I genuinely love the language, and the more opportunities I get to speak in it, I try to make the most of it. So this is great. I'm excited to be speaking with you all, and thank you for taking the time out of your busy day. Lots going on. It's a Saturday evening, and you have decided to join this, which shows your commitment to the cause of engaging with others and learning new things. So, and thanks to Agrawal ji, Gupta ji, and others who have been constantly, despite COVID and all, working to make such kind of events a reality for all of you. And as I was saying earlier, it is the commitment of the membership which keeps the organization going. So all of you together are doing a great job. So even before I start, seeing all that is going on and all what you have achieved and still stayed ahead of COVID and everything, why don't all of you give a big round of applause to yourself? This is a very important thing. Many times in India we fail to do that. We do not celebrate our success enough. We do not feel positive about what we do. But I'm very passionate about it. So thanks, guys, and let's get started. So the topic which I want to speak about today is about digital transformation, and more in context of how it can be leveraged by organizations. And then have added another talk, took some points from another talk of mine. Mine is like, how do we develop digital innovation based on something which comes out of our ancient Indian philosophy. So bear with me as I share those thoughts with you. So first of all, means when this year started, 2020, all of you must have had great visions about what you want to do in this year, both on a personal, professional, business front. And then COVID happened. COVID totally disrupted life as we know it. And what it reflects is a term. This term has been around for some time. It is called VUCA, which basically means volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. Now, generally in India, companies or individuals are very because confusion and ambiguity is part of our ethos, means it is all around. So we have got used to dealing with it, but now this is the new reality of the world, and COVID is just one manifestation of it. It can keep on happening in other ways, shapes and forms. So what most companies, most organizations have to do, and what the focus on right now is what they are saying, building resilience. So doing work in a normal way as things happen is fine, means that also delivers the result. But now the emphasis is how can you build your organization so that as these shocks happen, you are able to deal with them more actively. So a question which all of us, you, I, everybody constantly need to ask to ourselves is, are we ready for VUCA? What are we doing to be ready for VUCA? So these are specific questions. How do we deal with it? We need to be perceptive, we need to be prepared, we need to be nimble, we need to be agile. Jugaad comes to mind, means Jugaad, frugal innovation. We all know of it. Indians are masters at it. It has brought about a lot of success for Indians in the international world also. So Jugaad is one part of it, that is doing what you can do cheaply with what you have available. And then you couple it with new ideas, new thoughts, and new stuff, and we can have a very, very potent mix of success despite all what is going on. Now, the first thing which happens when we talk about this, okay, VUCA is there, we have to deal with it. So what as a company, as an organization, what do you need to do? So one is you need to think big and have a vision about it. Um, Tactics is fine. Tactical is you deal with the problem as it happens kind of thing. But you still need to have a big vision about, okay, these things are happening. Technology is playing an increasing role. How do you feel that this can help me make the next move or be successful? So at the start, before this talk started, and I was speaking with Agrawal ji on the call, who Anil Agrawal, I think his name was, who
Amit
has
Agarwal.
Amit Agrawal, who has a automotive unit, and he was mentioning about how he is creating a vision of trying to use digital technology, say his LinkedIn connections, linking them up with the website, and create a new marketing platform in this age of COVID. So a great example of creating a vision. So this vision can even be more extended. Okay, why just LinkedIn? Why not think of other platforms? What are the marketing platforms which other companies may be using? Because um, another thing which has happened is with this digital disruption is that borders have gone away. If a person in the US can get work out of people in India, similarly people in India can now get work done by people elsewhere, or can even get ideas from, say, Romania, or can get it from Timbuktu or wherever. Means uh, it's a shrunken world. So take some time to figure out what your vision is. Now the vision can be big, but what happens is sometimes with big visions, they become very scary. People start wondering, यार ये हो पाएगा क्या, ये बहुत बड़ा है, ये नहीं कर पाएंगे हम, इसमें करोड़ों रुपए लग जाएंगे. Means you start thinking that way. So the actions which I say is, the actions can be small. You break out. You don't have to boil the ocean. You can use an approach which is very common: crawl, walk, run, fly. पहले रेंगना सीखें, फिर चलना सीखें, फिर दौड़ना सीखें, फिर उड़ना सीखें टाइप से. So when you have thought of something, try to think of it in a way. Maybe we do a POC in one area. Maybe this digital marketing plan we are thinking about, we won't do it for that entire company. We'll take one small part of the company and we'll apply it there, see how it goes, and then scale it up, take corrective action also if something is not working. So there is nothing wrong with doing small steps to reach the big goals. Now, another important part of this is continuous innovation. So, and thinking of what these new technologies are emerging. So all these are buzzwords: blockchain, AI, IoT, cybersecurity, 5G. How can they be relevant for my organization? Now many times some companies may think, you know what, ये सब बड़ी बड़ी बातें हैं, मतलब these are not relevant for us, हमें तो रोज रोज का काम चलाना है. What I would suggest is trying to take some time out and actively thinking how these things can apply to me or my company. So, for example, extended reality, which means virtual reality, means headsets and three-dimensional kind of thing, which could be which could be very relevant for companies today when you're not able to meet persons, you're not able to show them stuff. The Google Cardboard headsets means are very cheap, and now Geo has come out with that new glass. I was watching that. Means maybe you mail that to your customers, they put it on, and then you are able to show your blueprints and screen, and means you have an automotive component and you split it out and you are showing the pieces to them. They are sitting in their office, you are sitting in yours, and you can give them a 3D perspective of what can be done. You are in the real estate business and you want to show someone a property. Earlier they had to come there to visit it. Now you can use new technology to show it to them sitting. They are sitting at their home and you are sitting at your place. So how can you leverage these new technologies to use you? Means it should be a continuous effort. One of the biggest examples I find is, and which I'm always thrilled about, my wife even more than me, is how the small businesses in India, the Purani Delhi cloth merchants and all, have used new technology. So we are ordering stuff from US. From first, you watch the YouTube video of a sari store or a lehenga store or whatever. They have got YouTube videos out there. they have a person out there who will show you the stuff in real time. जैसे इंडिया में वो साड़ी पहन पहन के दिखाते हैं, मतलब वैसे वो वहां पे बैठा हुआ दिखा रहा है, हम यहाँ पे देख रहे हैं, and you can order stuff via all digital means transfer and everything. I was flabbergasted. I could have never thought, yeah, means those people would adopt technology so fast. And what they have also done is it extends the hours of their stores. So they are, and many times this is being run by the ladies of the of those business families of the shopkeepers. So so they talk very nicely with the women here. So with that works well. And then they can do it at the time when the storefront has closed, shutter down ho chuke hain, lekin they can extend that hours, and they are showing stuff here which is during the US daytime. So means it is such a perfect thing. Like who would have thought this could happen? Now if they can do it, I am sure industry and bigger businesses businesses can definitely do stuff of that kind. Now to do that means you have to shake things up. In America, we have a saying which says you cannot have an omelette without breaking a few eggs. So you will have to change things. You will, most importantly, you will have to change your own mindset, because many times the biggest thing holding us back is changing the mindset. You'll have to step out of your comfort zone. नहीं यार ये नहीं हो सकता, ये मेरा काम नहीं है, those kind of things would need to change. Org structures may need to change. Vendor relationships may need to change. Vendors may need to become more of a partner than you perhaps companies have been used to in the past. So a lot of things need to evolve and change. Now, when I'm speaking to you about these things, I am not speaking as the expert. Means I am also a fellow professional like you. So as much I am speaking about this, what I want is that once this is done in a few 30 to 40 minutes, the conversation which I have with you, I'm a student, I'm learning from you and the others I speak with about how things can happen. So you have all the ideas more than what I can tell you about. So I would love to listen about them. Now, as we think that, many times people think that technology means that humans are becoming irrelevant. My perspective is that human has still to remain the focus. We have to think how technology can augment human capabilities. Now, a lot of things come to mind. One thing I'm talking about here is gig economy. Now, it has become very big in the US. I saw a friend had put up, he has a small business here, and he had put a very nice ad video about his IT company. And I asked him, hey, means abhi COVID is going on and all that. How did you come up with this ad? Very nice, slickly made, professionally made, professional models in it and everything. And kaise kiya? How did this happen in this time of COVID? Everything is shut down. He said, I put it out for bid on a site called Fiverr.com. So Fiverr.com allows people to pick up assignments. So he just said, I want to make a video of this kind, and who can do it? Now somebody sitting in California, I live in Texas, somebody sitting in California, a director who might be sitting at home not doing anything, said, I will make this video. I will charge XYZ amount for it. I will bring the models, send me the script. So that guy shoots the shoots the ad. He puts it out on bid again. I need someone to do the voiceover recording of about what is being said in the ad. And this whole thing was made in $250 for the video and $90 for the ad. Yeah, somebody needs to be muted, I think.
Yeah. Kindly आप अपने आप को unmute कर लीजिए.
हाँ, नहीं तो we'll get to know घर पे किसी को आज पनीर माखनी किसको मिल रहा है. And so yeah, I lost my chain. Yeah, so I was talking about the gig economy, how a person, so this ad, he was able to make a professional ad for $340, which otherwise would have cost thousands of dollars. And it was very professionally made, all by putting it out for bid on a gig economy site where freelancers picked up the work and did it. So Similarly, I'm sure could happen in India, would be happening in India, not just in terms of Indians providing the services to people in the US, but Indians also getting work done out of people elsewhere. So that can happen. Now the third thing which I have on the screen here is, when I'm saying think human, think talent, I'm saying millennials and Gen Zs, which is like young people below 30 years of age. Um, so in the US, there is lot of emphasis because this traditional age-related hierarchy is less existent. So people are able to uh, can act across age boundaries, and you can solicit ideas from anyone, and they are respected, and they become part of the thing. I think in India we are slightly behind on that, because we still have this age. अरे यार तेरे को क्या पता है? अरे तुझे कुछ नहीं पता. Means ये नया लड़के नए लड़के लड़कियां इनके नए ideas. That mindset needs to change, because all the good, this new technology, which for many of us is very, oh my God, what is this? I don't know how to deal with it. They have grown up with it. So when I may be lost with, say, some of these new things, but for my son who's just got out of college, it will be like, okay, I know how to do it, kind of thing. So those are the kind of people whom we should be looking out for ideas. So even in your companies, in your families, actively seek inputs from younger people. Means this is absolute critical for success. Means आज the world which we are seeing today is all the big leaders, mean whether it's Zuckerberg or Bill Gates or whatever, they were young kids who changed the world, kind of thing. So we as a culture need to get better at that. I think Sudhir Mittal phone is unmuted. That's where we are getting a noise from. Yeah, thank you. So now the next point I want to make it is about thinking about partners. So as we try to bring about this digital transformation, digital innovation and stuff, it is quite possible that all the capabilities will not exist in-house. So you have to reach out and find partners within the company and outside who can help you do that. And for that, what I am suggesting is you may need to think outside the box. So it is not that this advice can only come from other people in industry. It is quite possible it may come from universities. It may come from research institutions. In the US, the nexus between the industry and universities is very strong. So a lot of original research happening in universities comes straight into the industry. Industry closely interacts with what's happening in universities. In India, that nexus is not there. It is like, okay, universities are producing students who will get out and then work in the industry. But that extremely close linkage, where if an industry wants something to be developed and they quickly reach out to someone in university and saying, you know what, build me a prototype or do that research, that kind of framework does not exist yet. So that needs to evolve. Now, another important point I'm saying is think evolution. So each of these things which we want to do is not like, okay, turn the switch on, or yeah, aaj humne socha digital innovation and tuck switch on kiya and everything will become digital. It is a continuous process. It is an evolving process. New technology will keep on coming. So one has to keep thinking of it as a continuum. And then communication is key. So this slide is more in terms of when I speak in business organizations, but I think it is relevant here too. Many times communication is undervalued. People think that, but when you talk with employees, so I've been an employee also, and means in India as well as here, I think one of the biggest issues which employees have with their bosses is they do not communicate enough. हमें पता नहीं क्या हो रहा है, हमें कुछ पता नहीं चलता है. And then they are also not contributing their ideas because that two-way communication doesn't exist. So if there is one skill which people need to focus on in time of COVID, otherwise, is how to become more effective in communicating. And some of that silo mentality or holding on to information, I think in this digital era is not relevant. I have an interesting story about that. So I was working in India now 25 years ago. I was in a company called Bausch and Lomb, US multinational, head office in the US. Company was in India. We used to make Ray-Ban sunglasses and eye care solutions and things like that. So that company was splitting into two companies. Global level पे वो बातें चल रही थी कि दो units, eyewear and vision care business was splitting. So some news was expected and all that kind of thing. So I was an employee or manager there that time. A lot of us young managers were there, and one day we saw that all our top bosses were locked inside that corner MD's office. पूरा दिन से सारे के सारे बॉस लोग वो हैं वो वहां पर बंद, and all of us outside were thinking यार क्या हो रहा है क्या नहीं हो रहा kind of thing. Suddenly we get an email from, and ये चीज 2-3 दिन से चल रही थी, means we always saw all these top bosses going into that corner room and trying to यार कुछ खिचड़ी पक रही है. And then we get an email, all employees get an email straight from the US companies announcing कि the company is being split into two companies, ये होने वाला है, इस वेबसाइट पे जाओ, information and all that and ये वो. And then our leaders walk out of that room and they're saying, you know what, calling us and saying, no, हम कुछ होने वाला है, हम कुछ बताने वाले हैं. They didn't even, so the US approaches, you tell everyone at the outset and everything. The Indian management was working out like how will we break this news? हम पहले 2 लोगों को बताएंगे, फिर 4 को बताएंगे, फिर ये करेंगे, फिर वो करेंगे. And on the other hand, every employee knew it at the same time as they knew it. So it's just a difference in approach. I don't know which is right, which is wrong, but that's the way it was. I still find it funny. Now, be a transformer. So transformer means the ability to constantly change and evolve kind of thing. So you don't need to be wedded to a particular technology. Technology these days is changing so fast that there is no sense in saying, you know what, our company will be using Zoom only. Means you know today it is Zoom, tomorrow it could be something else. So you have to be wedded to the process, you have to be wedded to what you want to do, but not to any technology stack per se, because things are becoming obsolete. The rate of obsolescence is very, very fast. What is the killer thing today is in the dustbin tomorrow kind of thing. So what were the 10 mantras we covered in this part of the presentation? I said VUCA is real, be ready for it. Volatility, uncertainty, complexity, and ambiguity. In terms of vision, think big, but in terms of actions, you can act small. Continuous innovation. Shake things up. Think human, think talent. Think partners. Think evolution. Communication is key. And be a transformer. So this was the first part of my session. I'll pause here a bit, and Gupta ji, if you want some interaction, some questions popping up, means we can spend some time on that.
Yes, friends. If there are any questions from any participants, you're most welcome to ask. I have unmuted all. And
और आपने नहीं क्वेश्चन पूछा तो मैं नाम देखकर मैं क्वेश्चन पूछने शुरू कर दूंगा.
जरूर, बिल्कुल.
So Amit Agrawal ji, we were talking earlier. So क्या resonate किया इसमें, कुछ क्या लगता है आपको?
मैं एक बात यहाँ कहना चाहूंगा, अगर मुझे इजाजत दी जाए.
नहीं, बोलिए वर्मा जी, आप बोलिए.
आपने बहुत अच्छी बात बताई कि any strategic information or solutions can be received from the bottom of the pyramid also.
Mm-hmm.
The biggest example we get from the Ramayana itself, when एक छोटी सी गिलहरी जो है अपने को रोल करके सैंड और सीमेंट के पार्टिकल्स को लेकर के वो ब्रिज में डालती है, उससे ब्रिज बनता है, स्टोन्स जुड़ जाते हैं तो पुल बन जाता है. तो जब रामचंद्र जी को पता लगा कि ये ऐसे किया जा रहा है, एक छोटी सी गिलहरी इतना बड़ा काम कर रही है, एक पुल बनाने में सहयोग कर रही है. वंडरफुल थिंग यू हैव टोल्ड अस कि एनीथिंग कैन बी any strategic information or solutions can be received even from the bottom of the pyramid also.
Absolutely. And the bottom of the pyramid could be any age. आजकल यहाँ पे US कंपनीज में एक चीज जो हो रही है जिसको कहते हैं, पहले तो मेंटरिंग होती थी. मेंटरिंग में होता था कि एक सीनियर आदमी के साथ एक इंटर्न या जूनियर आदमी को लगा दिया और वो सीनियर आदमी से सीखता था चीजें. आजकल इट इज वेरी कॉमन टू हैव समथिंग कॉल्ड रिवर्स मेंटरिंग. इसमें एक सीनियर एग्जीक्यूटिव के साथ एक इंटर्न या एक किसी मतलब यंग मैनेजर को लगाएंगे जिसमें कि जो सीनियर है वो जूनियर से कुछ सीख रहा है. And they learn a lot. So reverse mentoring is a key part of what companies are doing.
That is a new normal.
I would strongly recommend means people here give it a try. Take a junior under your wing and don't make it कि मैं उसको ज्ञान दूंगा. Be as a receptacle कि मैं उससे कुछ सीखूंगा. And you will find it to be a very, very worthwhile experience.
Especially in the case of technology.
Absolutely. Technology plus the way they relate with others, communication. I mean, there are a lot of different things and social trends, because ultimately business has to work in a social environment. What is happening, what is cool, what is new, means they know it better than many times we given our age profile.
We call it that we have to be on a learning mode.
Sorry?
We have to be on a learning mode.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah. Constant learning. Anybody?
नमस्कार सेठ साहब. नमस्कार सेठ साहब.
हाँ जी,
मैं बीके गोयल बोल रहा हूँ.
हाँ जी.
आपने भी बताया कि यूएस में बहुत ही अच्छा लिंकिंग है यूनिवर्सिटी और इंडस्ट्री के बीच में. ये इंडिया में नहीं है. ये बात हमने जीएमए में कई बार डिस्कस की है कि यूनिवर्सिटी को प्रॉब्लम है कि इंडस्ट्री का कुछ कॉपरेशन नहीं मिल रहा है. इंडस्ट्री को प्रॉब्लम है कि हमें अच्छे आदमी नहीं मिल रहे हैं यूनिवर्सिटी से. तो व्हाट यू फील, इंडिया में ऐसी क्या कमी है कि लिंकिंग अच्छा नहीं हो पा रहा है? एक आध पॉइंट शायद आप बता पाएं, इसलिए हमने आपसे पूछा है.
ग्रेट क्वेश्चन. सो इंडिया में क्यों नहीं हो पा रहा? आई थिंक बिकॉज एक तो ये होगा कि वी आर वेरी ब्यूरोक्रेटिक. मतलब एक रूल्स, कुछ चार्टर्स, बायलॉज, ये वो फलाना ढिमकाना.
कोई रूल दे रहे नहीं लोग.
Sorry, there's a lot of disturbance on some phones. Rajshri, you need to mute yourself.
I muted also. Kindly unmute yourself, Deepak ji. Deepak ji, kindly unmute yourself.
I have unmuted myself.
Yeah.
Yes. I was saying, so there are a lot of bylaws and all that which make cooperation difficult. Once again, I think
again, yes.
Mute karna.
I've done it.
Okay. Yeah, let me can I see? Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. So let me get, so what I was talking about was the industry and university collaboration question from Dharendra Goyal ji. So so one is, I think there's a lot of this a bureaucratic rigmarole kind of thing is there, but even that, I think there are opportunities to find ways to engage. For example, almost all students are required to do projects in engineering institutions. They have to do a project. So that is one area where there is a mechanism exists where, because the student needs to do a project, the student needs to do a project with the industry. So the industry, what they can do is make sure that the project which they assign to the students is not कि यार कोई time pass project पकड़ा दिया वो करने के लिए. Have them solve a genuine problem which you have. Now I'll give you an example. So when I was at Xerox and working in Rochester, New York, so we had an engagement with the University of Rochester Simon School. So we had a lot of data about travel and expenses. So employees travel and then they submit the travel and expenses bills and all that. And so over the years, a lot of data has been collected. So audit वाले भी कि नहीं यार ये सारी travel and expense data है, इसका हम कुछ करते तो कुछ है नहीं, इसका मतलब पड़ा हुआ है ये data. And in the University of Rochester, they were like data sciences students and all ये हैं. So what we said is, okay, you know what, and they need data to do projects and do work kind of thing. I said, you know what we can do is, we will anonymize this data, sub personal references हटा दिए उसमें से, and we will give it to you, and you come up with something on how this data can be used. And they came out with so many interesting facts from that data, and how we can leverage that data to manage our travel and expenses. Like this project on our side was from the audit department, so how we can detect fraud and stuff like that. So for example, if people have within one day they are showing multiple travels to places which physically is not possible, kind of thing. So that kind of analysis could be done and shown, you know what, ये आदमी एक ही दिन के अंदर उसने दिल्ली का वाउचर भी दे रखा है, मद्रास का वाउचर भी दे रखा है, और जमशेदपुर का वाउचर भी दे रखा है. मतलब that is not possible. Or even in terms of, say, taxi travel or within a city, how is it possible that his one parking ticket from one place is at 8 a.m. and then within 9 a.m. he has got a ticket from a place which is like 200 miles away. When using Google Maps and everything, the data you can analyze and show that, okay, that travel is not possible. I mean, so this kind of thing. So this is just an example of a non-technical project using data. We had them do projects on data coming out of the photocopying machines and stuff like that. So just as an example. So any other question? I hope I was able to shed some light, but
I want to add something on what Dhurendra ji has just mentioned. I have a personal experience for last 20 years trying to work with universities and colleges. And what DK Goyal has said, I will ditto that, because, and the problem genuinely is both ways, both the industry attitude as well as the professor's attitude.
Yeah.
See, they work in their own silos, and we as industry people work in our own silos, and we have no common thing to work on. And the main reason I find is that we from industry do not define our problem in such a manner so that the college professors can understand and do something about it. And I think that is the biggest issue which I find, that the correlation between industry and universities is very poor because of that same reason. And their objective, the measure of performance, is how many PhDs they guided, how many papers were published. Their measure of performance is not which industry or which technology was evolved by their effort. So both ways there is an issue on that. So I thought I'll just share, because this is what my experience is.
No, great observation.
And students
right now in our factory there are 3 students, interns, who are working on a live project to do something about IoT.
जो सुधीर जी ने बताया है बड़ा अच्छा बताया है. मैं ये समझता हूँ कि GMA इज ए गुड प्लेटफॉर्म, जहाँ पर हम जो है, क्योंकि काफी यूनिवर्सिटी वाले, कॉलेज वाले भी काफी मेंबर्स हैं और इंडस्ट्री वाले भी काफी मेंबर्स हैं, तो वी शुड टेक सम पॉइंट्स और कुछ ऐसा कोरिलेशन बनाना चाहिए जैसा शेठ साहब ने बताया कि वहां पर है. यहाँ भी एक शुरू हो, ऐसा में GMA को इन्वॉल्व करना चाहिए कहीं ना कहीं.
धुरेंद्र जी GMA इसमें कुछ नहीं करेगा. अगर आपको ये लगता है, देखिए जिस पहिए में से चू चू की आवाज आती है उसी में तेल डलता है. और आपको अगर एक प्रॉब्लम है तो यू हैव टू गो आउट एंड फाइंड आउट कि भाई ये प्रॉब्लम मेरी कौन सॉल्व कर सकता है, एंड टॉक टू हिम एंड गिव ए फोकस्ड प्रॉब्लम डिस्क्रिप्शन. Then there is a chance of its getting success. Otherwise, there will be a confusion.
Absolutely. So I think the thing is, the biggest bang for the buck, जिसे ऐसे अमेरिका में कहते हैं, would come from the place where the differential is the highest, kind of thing. So where the capability within the industry and what the university can bring is the highest. Now, few areas I think can be very, very relevant. One is data sciences, because industry doesn't have data science capabilities. Universities are likely to have more number crunchers, computers, people interested in doing stuff like that. मैं अपने US experience से बोल रहा हूँ, so I may be wrong in certain things. Second would be things like again IoT, drones, stuff like that. So maybe they have a budget maybe some university wants a student to do a project on using a drone kind of thing. Industry may not have that capability, and this could be a win-win kind of thing. So maybe I'm just thinking aloud. It means to both your points, Dhurendraji and the other gentleman, I didn't get the name. Maybe it is some kind of ideation session. Pull some university people, pull some industry people, and GMA could be the forum where you do an ideation session with a clear objective that the end of this session we will come out with 5 areas of collaboration, or 2 areas or 3 areas or whatever.
Yes, right. That's what I wanted.
That was Mr. Sudhir Mittal, Deepakji.
Okay. Yeah, Mittal, thanks. So I will now, I think that all very great ideas. As I said, I won't have all the answers. Answers will come from you guys. My job is just to provoke the thought and leave some food for thought kind of thing. So let me move on to the next section. And
as an academician, I tried one thing which gave some result. Actually, I used to get weekly research and review. What I used to do in very first semester, I used to ask students to choose an industry of their choice, like where their heart lies. And they used to do the research from the journals, etc. And he used to do practice in the industry. He used to take some small topic and they used to experiment for whole 2 years. So until the time they used to graduate, they used to have lot of understanding of that particular industry.
Very nice, thanks. And related to that, sometimes the way industry and universities engages, because one is we are dealing with young students, so what makes them tick is different from the way industries motivate people kind of thing. So, and I'm once again giving an example of ours. So this thing, when we did the data sciences projects with the university, the way it was structured within the university was students were in groups of 2, 3, 4 or 5 groups. There were 6 or 7 groups created, and we put it out as almost like an internal contest. The same data set is given to like 5 different teams, and the team which comes up with the best, the professor will be the judge, and the 3 teams or the 2 teams which will come up with the best solutions will get to present to the company, like industry, myself and others. So it created that kind of excitement among the students once you created the teams and all kind of thing. So in the US, and I think must be happening in India too, they do a lot of hackathons. So where it is, okay, you give a well-defined or they do case competitions. So some industry volunteers and says that, you know what, this is an actual business problem of mine. They put it, a professor works with you and they puts it as an actual case, and they give it as a case competition to students, and the students have to come up with solutions. Industries pay, and they're so eager to get those inputs because it is free advice from a group who is looking at the problem from a totally different perspective. So wonderful. For example, you want to reduce, say, metal wastage in a grinding process in an automotive component manufacturer. Now you have been looking at it a particular way. You build the case for it. You give it to a mechanical engineering department in a student. Ask the students to approach it and come up with solutions. So if they are innovative thinkers, maybe they will come up with a solution which is different from what the traditional solutions are. They say, you know what, change this in the process, or you capture the waste that way. I don't know what they can come up with, but it could be different from what you have been looking at. So with that said, I would move ahead now. So Gupta ji, okay, we are doing good on time.
Yeah, please.
So 6 blind. I was coming back to the Indian ethos. Come to this story of the 6 blind men and the elephant. I'm sure most of you have been are well versed in Indian traditions and scriptures and stuff. So you must have heard this story about 6 blind men touching the elephant, trying to figure out what it is, and each one coming up with a different answer. So the guy who touches the trunk thinks it's a snake, who touches the fan ear thinks it's a fan, but nobody was able to visualize that ये वास्तव में हाथी है. मतलब हर आदमी उसको अलग अलग तरीके से देख रहा था. So this makes us think that do we miss the whole when we focus on the parts? हम क्या पूरी चीज हमें नहीं दिखाई देती जब हम एक specific चीज पे focus करने लगते हैं? And if we don't know the whole, अगर हमें पता ही नहीं कि वो हाथी है, तो parts को पता होने से हमें कुछ पता चलेगा या नहीं पता चलेगा? Means it's like a strange kind of conundrum, which relates very well to some kind of problems which we face in life and in industry also. For example, yeah, everybody moves around with a cell phone these days. Now, if I were to ask you what exactly is a cell phone, means it is a phone, is it a camera, is it a GPS device, is it a movie player, book reader, gaming device, alarm clock? क्या नहीं है ये? Means it is anything and everything. It didn't. If we go back to 20 years, nobody would have thought that a phone can be all these things. The phone was a fixed device. You went there, tring tring, usko घुमाते थे और बजता था and all that kind of stuff. Now, just see in 20, 30 years what has happened with the phone. So the point I'm trying to make, I said these several things. The phone could be any of these. So what the phone is depends upon how we view the phone to be, how we use it. There's some unmuted lines. Again, it's distracting a bit. Yeah. So, a smartphone can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. So a smartphone could be any of these things, combination thereof or whatever. If suddenly the smartphone was to be dropped in an island where civilization doesn't exist and only some say tribes exist, and they have a need of hammering something into the wall, they may think a phone is a hammer. Means it can be. One never knows what a thing can be or is. Now, why is this relevant? ये means ये हाथी पुराण इसकी what is the relevance here? Because the disruptor or the innovator needs to think of things in a way which other people may not perceiving them to be. As Steve Jobs, when he built the iPhone, he said customers don't often know what they want. Customers only think so a general thing is, okay, we will make what the customer wants. But does the customer really know what they want? A disruptor and innovator will think of things which the customer doesn't even know that they want and create a demand for them. Now, the features in the Tesla car and all that, which Elon Musk keeps coming out with, I mean, people don't know. Once they get them, they start using them, and oh wow, means this is something. This is which we can use. So the thought which I want to leave with this is means it is not you can do as many customer surveys as you want, but that also makes you think in a particular just a limited perspective. Many times you have to think beyond what even the customer wants. This is, I've just put a slide here to show something which I had written in the Harvard Business Review one point of time, because many times what happens is people say that, you know what, ये disruption हो गया, ये तो पूरी industry तहस-नहस हो गई. This thing came around and all Uber came around and taxi business, Ola came around and taxi business went for a toss and all that kind of thing. The point I'm trying to make is that none of these things happen in a day. All of them take some time to happen. And if you are a smart company or a smart group of people, you will be constantly monitoring to see what are these kind of disruptions which can be happening, and how can we leverage them to our advantage. So even say with COVID happening, I think everybody should take a step back, leave all this medical aspect of it aside, where the whole environment is full up with the medical stuff, but thinking, I as an industry, what kind of opportunity one is to help deal with the suffering it is causing, and even as terms of a business opportunity, what can still be done despite it. If I'm a plastic bag manufacturing unit, can I easily convert to a PPE manufacturing unit? Is the technology extensible? Means those are the kind of things which one can think. Can in the US, Ford became a company which made the ventilators. So can an automotive part company, so Ford is a car manufacturing company, and they made the ventilators because ultimately and interestingly, they say, you know what, the timing device which is used in the car can be leveraged to become a timing device on a ventilator. Means that's this thing which we use in the seat belt can be is actually can be used in the ventilator kind of thing. So very quickly Ford now is making ventilators. Now can an automotive supplier in India, and I don't know what the licensing and all that crap, how that works, but maybe it is an easy switch for a automotive manufacturer to become a ventilator manufacturer. Maybe not, but I'm just leaving it as a thought. Printer, I'm giving an example of a printer. So when we started off, a printer used to be a printer, so it just used to print stuff. Then somebody said, you know what, printer can be a copier also, so the copier function got added to it. Then why can't it be a fax also? So a fax got added to it. Now it could be, you know what, can it be something else? Can it become a coffee machine also? Can it become a brand display? Can it be something else? Means, how do you take what the products which you have and make them more relevant, combine different things and make them more relevant for people? So the food for thought is, how can an innovator develop the ability to see beyond what others are seeing? So when everybody is seeing a phone, how can I see it as something which can be a pulse oximeter to measure the oxygen in the blood, because it can be used for COVID treatment, or heartbeat measurement unit or whatever? And then how can this approach be built into the innovation process as something which we can do regularly and systematically? So here is where the concept of anikantvad, or non-absoluteness, or non-one-sidedness, or non-exclusivity comes with, and it is linked to two other concepts of Syadvad and Nyavad. So I'm not an expert in these, but I found that they seem to resonate well with what we are trying to do. So this comes out of Jain philosophy, and they have these 7 conditions of conditioned predication kind of thing, which easily can be applied to the phone example. So in some ways it is a phone, how and why. In some ways it is not a phone, how and why. In some ways it is and it is not a phone, how and why. In some ways it is a phone and it is indescribable, how and why. I mean, these are a sequence of questions which can be asked about anything, which will force you to come up with answers on how a thing can be used or can be relevant from a context in which you originally came up with it for. So it is an automotive timing device. How is it not an automotive timing device? Could it become a ventilator timing device? Means things of that sort. So what these 7 questions lead us to is, how can we look at these things from a different perspective in context of time, space, substance and mode? In 4 चीजों की दृष्टि से, how can a thing be viewed differently? And I'll come up with an example related to that. For example, can a phone be seen as a transaction processing device, a financial transaction processing device, a credit card processing device? Now, somebody thought of that question, saying, you know what, your phone can link up to the financial system, but the credit card is there. Only thing which is missing is a card reader. So in the US, there is a company called Square. I don't know whether it exists in India or not, but you just attach a device to the phone, and then you can swipe your credit card using the phone. So what this does is, it totally opened up a new sector, in the sense, anybody who's coming to do work, or you are a small time shopkeeper or something, and you don't have a phone, you don't have a credit card device, you can use the phone to process credit cards. I mean, so remarkable in the way it achieved. Can a phone be a guitar? no. How can a phone be a guitar? But somebody came up with an app by which you can play the guitar on the phone. So, okay, you know what? It is a touch screen. So if I just rub my fingers against it, maybe it can play some music kind of thing. And so came up with a guitar. Okay, can the phone be used differently during night and day? Since it is a battery pack, why can't it be, if we add a small bulb to it, a LED bulb to it, can it be a torch? And I believe that the flashlight or the torch feature in rural India, it is one of the very important features which the phone has, because you are moving around in night from one place to another and you are using the phone. But this came about because somebody thought of the phone not as a phone, but thought of it as a battery. So this phone is a battery, it is a mobile power source. And what things can I do with a mobile power source? Maybe I just need to add a bulb to it and turn it into a torch or a flashlight. Interestingly, in the US we say torch. If you say torch in the India we say torch. If you say torch in the US, nobody will understand. They call it a flashlight. So these questions lead to more questions. So if it is a phone and I have it on my body all the time, can it sense my heartbeat? Can it be used to detect my mood? Can it be, so all these kind of things, I'm just saying, okay, this is the way innovators keep on coming out with new ways to of thinking about things. So if I just make a watch which links up to the phone, then I can measure the heartbeat. Means that's how things are happening. So so this is just saying that how many times we look at a thing only from a partial standpoint. A phone may have infinite features, but each person will look at it in terms of what is relevant for them. So most people may not be using all the features which the phone has. So when we say white iPhone, we are just talking about white and the iPhone, but it has other attributes: volume, has screen size, camera quality, kind of things there, which could be relevant from a different perspective. So if you are viewing the phone as a camera, then all you need to focus on is how do I get the image quality better. So the advantage is you are splitting the attributes and then you are focusing on those specific attributes. So it helps eliminating some of the confusion. So if you are focusing on the phone as a camera, you will focus on improving the camera aspect of it and not focus on the sound aspect or the other aspects of it. And then other team could be working on those aspects of it, and then you bring them all together. But many times if you start looking at them all together, you cannot do that, because you think, you know what, if I increase the sound, then the camera quality this may happen, that may happen. But if you separate them out, focus on them individually and then bring them together, it may have advantages. So do you see this playing out with many innovations? Fridge, car, taxi service, printers, cloud. Where all else do you think these things can be applied? So I just when I do this exercise with others, this is a more detailed conversation I have. I've tried to squeeze it in. I say just pick a common object or service, walk it through these 7 questions and all, and see what innovations you can come up with. So I'll pause here a bit. Let's see whether this resonated, made sense or not. I went a bit fast in the interest of time, but Gupta ji, if you could unmute the people and let's see what people have in mind. Everybody is muted.
Yeah, so they will have to unmute themselves. Whoever wants to speak has to unmute himself or herself.
Okay. So go ahead. Who wants to?
So, can I ask a question?
पूछना, आप सुने शुरू कर दिया तो फिर पूछ ही लीजिए.
हाँ, so I wanted to ask, like the way you were explaining Syadwad, that is Anekantwad, have you solved any of your company's problem through this particular framework? Giving a practical example may perhaps further elicit this point of view. Thank you.
Yes. So as I work means I worked in Xerox for many years, and so this was one of the things which we proposed there, and this was in terms of coming out with new ways, new attributes for what we call the multi-function device, the printer. Means the way the printer has evolved. So all of it I cannot say has evolved because of this, but this was an approach which was used to leverage in terms of what all attributes can be added to a printer, to a multi-function print device kind of thing. And over the years you would have seen how much it has evolved and changed in terms of so instead of now it being used as a print, now it is even a translation device. So actually I don't know if those machines exist in the US yet or not. You can put a copy, you can put a paper to copy on it. It's a paper in English, and the printout can come out in French. Means those kind of thing, because that instant translation is offered via AI or machine learning and natural language processing and stuff like that. So this is a new way of using a printer. So you say, and actually means I've seen that in work. Means you put an English document, you get a rough quality translation in say German or Hindi or whatever out of that. And if you want a high quality translation, then there is a human being in the behind, and it can go to them, and they can in one day or something. So change the printer from just a print device to almost like a platform as a service kind of, or a service device. Yeah.
Just to add on to what you said, Deepak ji, this is Ayush. Just to answer, even the idea of making a ventilator from an auto manufacturing company is from the same kind of an approach. I can understand where the confusion is coming from, Deepak ji, from the audience, right? The audience is mostly, just a little background on them. They are mostly either from the academic side, right? Or they are from a brick and mortar company side, right? So for them, if I have to translate it into their, what they want to do, and, it's basically you have to look at your resources and the ability of what your resources can do. Because from your perspective, you cannot work on a disruptive technology, right? You can be the users of technology of what, whether it is a Cofax, or whether it is a scanning, or whether it is imaging. You could be the users of that kind of a technology. But I think from the standpoint of the COVID times, what Deepak ji is trying to say, please correct me, Deepak ji, if I am wrong in my understanding. But what he's trying to say is that you have to step back, take a look of what your resources are, think of it in a different dimension of what you are currently doing, and then see what you can put those resources, for what use you can put those resources to. When you do that, at that point of time, you would understand, okay, look, you had a complete work center with a lathe or a turning machine, and you were only doing certain kind of auto components. Oh, voila, I can do maybe a medical equipment component, right? I think that is what Mr. Seth is trying to.
Absolutely, means you said it. Yeah, no, thank you, absolutely, you hit the nail on the head, and thanks for bringing the context of the audience. So, and I'll add to this. It means you said it absolutely right. I could not have said it better. For example, and I'll link it. I'll take two more examples. One is, take it in the example of a small shopkeeper in Old Delhi selling saris, lehengas. Small shop, we know Paranthe Wali Gali or wherever those shops are. He is sitting there. He knows things are getting shut down, whatever, or even before shutdown, after shutdown. And he starts thinking, you know what? I have a cell phone, and the cell phone has a camera. I know that there is another technology called YouTube. I know that payments can come to me via electronic transfer. And I know that my wife is also interested in working in the business, and I have been holding her back all the time now because it's a male dominated business. Now, putting all these 4 elements together, 5 elements together, do I still have a business model? And you know what? A new business model emerges. It says, you know what? He tells his wife, you know what? Once the shop closes, you come to the shop. We will call 1 or 2 guys on overtime, and on YouTube we'll find a marketing somebody who will shoot a video. We'll put it on YouTube out there. People will reach to us. People want to see the lehengas really. We will show it to them. We'll put the orders there, and when it comes, we will ship it. And this has become a viable business model. This is happening right now as we speak. Now, in the industry, who knows? For example, even if you have a lathe and it is making a small widget, a component of something. Now, you have always visualized yourself as people who are creating that physical object. Now, you may suddenly start thinking, you know what? Maybe there are people who want to watch lathing videos, who just want to see a component being made. And I will create a YouTube channel where I will just show a component being made, and people will watch that being made. So does it seem far-fetched? Right now, sitting here, you may think, yaar, ye kya bakwas kar raha hai? But there are people, I don't know if in India, if you have watched it, there is a site called Grandma's Kitchen. There is another called Grandpop's Kitchen or whatever. A small village guy, or there's a very old lady, 90 years old. She just goes and cooks food in bulk. She's just cooking that food. Millions of views. People are just watching. You can Google Grandma's Kitchen and see, I don't know what the exact name is. And similarly, there was an old guy who died recently who used to just go in the wild, matlab chula jala ke, lakdi patte jala ke, unme kuch rakh ke, and he used to make stuff, and millions of people were watching the video. So this is for that, what we can say, useless kind of stuff. And he created a revenue stream, his grandkids, his whole family. Then there was a whole episode showing kitna badhiya usne ghar bar sab bana liya, because he was earning lakhs of rupees doing that. So maybe there's an interest. Maybe you create a site where people say, you know what, I want to watch a cylinder being turned into this component, and you shoot it and people are watching it. So this is totally out of the box thinking, but it could be relevant as a revenue stream other than what the traditional revenue stream is. Any other thoughts, questions?
Once again, if I can get 30 seconds to ask something, right? And to put.
Can I have your name? Sorry.
This is Ayush Agarwal.
Yeah, Ayush. Yeah, thanks. Thanks for joining in, and very, very insightful observations.
No, I was there from the very beginning. You know, your introduction was so powerful. I couldn't resist but come on this webinar. So I'm from a technology background, and we run a small company which is into ERP and helping the smaller organizations. I just I know most of the participants over here. From their perspective, I think if you can cover. Because you are talking of digitization and you are talking of how to change with the Indian ethos in mind, right? A couple of things that come to my mind when I meet these is that they would want to know that wherever they go or whatever seminars and webinars they're attending, everybody they're talking of IR 4.0. Right, and they get. I'm sure most of them get overwhelmed by, they are talking of automation as 3.0 and digitization as 4.0. And when I talk to a lot of people in the industry, we find that automation for them is they have not yet achieved or they have not yet embraced automation, and they are talking of digitization. So if you could just let them know or talk to, maybe cover, I'm not sure if this covers it is covered in your session, and what exactly, you talked a lot about digitization in your previous session, right? But when we are talking of an industry embracing 4.0, So it talks about knowledge sharing. It would talk about not holding to information which you did touched upon, right? But how exactly should they embrace it, right? Because they are running maybe on the FoxPro systems, or they have got a system which is 10 years old, right? And you are saying that don't get tied to a technology. And if they talk to any other vendor, it's very expensive for them to step out. How to do IoTs. I had Sudhir Bhai sir talking about IoT, wherein he has engaged students from an institute doing an IoT project. But IoT has become a buzzword, right? Wherein I was talking to one person and he said कि मेरी एक lathe है, क्या उसको मैं internet से connect कर सकता हूँ? So those are the kind of things that they have कि अच्छा internet से मैं कुछ भी connect कर सकता हूँ, right?
Which I mean, I would personally say he is onto something, because I was IoT because I had this exact. Sorry, go ahead.
Just 5 seconds. Okay, sorry.
नहीं आप पूरा कीजिए please. Ayush, go ahead. Oh, did he drop off? Sorry.
Probably.
Okay.
I think I overshot my time. I'm so sorry about it. You can continue, please.
That's fine. There's no overshooting unless you guys have to run somewhere immediately. So the point is, what has happened, I think, when I look at the technology environment, means a lot of what was considered as fixed cost earlier has become a variable cost now, in the sense you don't need to buy stuff or buy equipment to get the benefits of it, because a lot of it is available as a service offered by someone else. So what you actually need is people who can link or integrate all those components together to give what you're looking for. Now, thinking of the lathe connecting to the internet, because lathe connecting to the internet to me makes a lot of sense, because one is I'm sure you must have heard. I came across that story once about some farmer who had linked his pumps in the farm, because every morning at 4 a.m. he had to go and switch on the pump to water his fields. Now sitting in his home, because he has IoT enabled the pump set, he can switch it on sitting at home. So now that makes so much more time available to him, which he can use for something else. So similarly, when we talk about in cars and stuff,
आवाज आ रही है?
Sorry, what's?
कौन है भाई?
Yeah. So similarly, means for any such thing, yes, you have to think out of the box. Yes, a lathe can be IoT enabled. Anything can be IoT enabled. The whole houses are these days wired. Means you can, looking at, means from your phone you can unlock or start your car. I mean, that's a very, very common feature now. Means you can start and shut all the lights in your house. So now why not a lathe? So what is needed is the role of integrators would. So in the traditional construct, a lot of the focus was on selling of software, selling of technology kind of thing. I think right now the need of the hour is people who can help companies integrate to what is available, so that they can use it more effectively and in different ways from which they have thought of.
Others have any question?
Sir, one of the thing is like this is one example you have taken from Syadwad. Like, are there some other examples also from Indian ethos which can help in like this technology thing and like disruption and all these things? If you have
so
I think Harshvardhan साहब कुछ और स्पेसिफिक पूछे तो बेटर रहेगा.
नहीं, and आप नहीं, actually means I think he wants to share something of his own. आप बताइए, आपको कौन सा ध्यान में है? पहले किसी ने वो कहानी बताई थी गिलहरी वाली, means which also is very relevant, means it gave the input in terms of contributions of everybody is valuable and important. So that was a that was a great advice. Means every story, means in Indian mythology and even Indian historical traditions are so strong. You can find learnings relevant for modern technology in each one. Means हनुमान जी गए और वो पूरा पहाड़ लेके आ गए क्योंकि उनको संजीवनी बूटी नहीं मिली. Means the example could be that sometimes when you are not able to find a specific solution, go more broader and the answer, then let the expert figure out what the real solution needs to be. Which is also a powerful story in the terms of a worker doing what his best expertise is. So Hanumanji's best expertise was the strength and the ability to bring the mountain. And he knows that he does not have the ability to identify the booty. But he knows that the Vedraj who is at Lakshman's site has the knowledge of the booty. So he brings the whole mountain back. And then that Vedraj is, and I forget the name of the Vedraj. Many of you would know the name. And he identifies which one is the Sanjeevani booty. So this is an example. So you can pick any story and there will be Indian ethos in it. अगर वो कह रहे हैं कि तीर को देखकर, मतलब सिर्फ चिड़िया की आंख देखो, चिड़िया मत देखो, मछली की आंख देखो, मछली मत देखो, means that is on focus, means you need to be focused in what you want to do. So that because a disruptor or an innovator can sometimes become too much happening around him and you lose focus. So then you should remember Arjun's story of looking at just the eye of the bird, and you get the focus there. So others were seeing the trees and everything, but means Dron told Arjun said, I just see the eye of the bird. So that's it.
Thank you, sir, for your views and like broadening the horizon.
आप अभी आप लगता है आपके पास भी एक कहानी है हर्षवर्धन जी, कुछ सुनाइए आप.
Yeah, definitely, like everyone has its own story, and at times you use Indian mythos, and so like one of the thing is जो कृष्ण भगवान ने खुद ही बोला है कि we should be obsessed about the process, not about the results. So in life, most of the time we lose because we focus more about the results than the process. So in any technology also, or in any business also, process, if you do the process right, then things fall well placed. So in that way, there are a lot of things we can learn. Again from Ram, again we have to maintain our ethics all the time, which is again emphasized in business, particularly in West, that doing business in an ethical way is beneficial both for customer as well as the service provider. So there is a lesson everywhere. The thing is somebody like you who can ignite it in the wider public. So thank you for particular discourse.
Yeah. And you see, another point which comes to mind, which is a very big focus in the US these days, is they talk about purposefulness. Purpose. What is the purpose? You have to focus on the purpose of the organization. Pehle, it used to be mission kya hai, vision kya hai. Now it is like, what is the purpose? Because millennials and Gen Zs, younger people, are very interested in that. Not only should we be doing work, the work should be meaningful work in terms of what it is contributing to society. So that's a big driver in the US these days. So all companies are coming up with what they call what is their purpose. So which can easily be linked to many different stories in the Indian cultural context. Especially means the whole Karmanyavadikaraste Mafleshu Kadachanam is just,
I think if there is anyone else who has a question, and otherwise we wrap it up. Please, anyone?
Well, thank you. Dhanyawad. Thanks for the opportunity. I know I went all over the place. I tried to pack lot of things in it. Just hold on to what you think is relevant. Some of it may not have been framed into your actual context, but I'm glad that others joined in and provided that flavor of which is very unique to you. I'm sure that some of the things you can be started in a daily in a very easy way. Means pulling in the younger people in your company or organization, or people at all levels, and getting their ideas and thoughts and including them in what you do. Thinking of technology in terms of how it can increment or add to whatever is going on in your company. Thinking out of the box, and do crazy stuff. Means let ko jod do IoT se yaar. Matlab give it a try. Means don't think it is ye nahi hoga.
So it was not about on and off of lathe.
On
and off you can always do it, right?
I know.
There are so many things associated with IoT. It's just not simple on and off, right? So on and off you can do any machine or any equipment.
I know.
Right?
Absolutely, Ayush. I'm trying to make your point relevant to this. I'm not trivializing it. So sorry if I gave you that feeling. It can
perfectly all right.
Yeah. It's the point which you brought is very well. It means you'll create a whole
anything can be tried.
It can. The point is, yes, means even connecting all devices to creating a whole ecosystem by which the controls can be done remotely. Means that is just one part of the thing, but obviously many different things. Means I'll give you an example. Just two more minutes is. Like in the aircraft industry in the US, means they have a problem which is called aircraft on ground. Aircraft on ground means that the airplane is not able to fly because it is missing something, like कोई seat belt टूटा हुआ है, कोई toilet में कुछ problem है, या कोई बड़ा engine is so the plane is stuck on the tarmac and is not able to take off. So many times you hear the announcement saying because of technical reasons the plane cannot fly, or we are waiting for a part to arrive, kind of thing. So it is very common, and a lot of money is lost because of that, because the aircraft is not able to aircrafts only make money when they're flying in the air. When they're stuck at the airport, they don't make money, so they keep on turning them around very fast. Now anytime it is stuck, and so it's billions of dollars are lost when an aircraft is stuck on the ground. Now, one problem which happens is that a spare part arrives for the plane, but it goes missing. It goes missing means they are not able to locate wo chala kahan gaya. I mean, this is a real genuine problem which is happening. कि यार ये वो part रवाना हुआ एक जगह से, फिर इस airport पे आ भी गया, but plane तक नहीं पहुंच रहा, पता नहीं कहाँ है. So what can be done about it? Okay, can we have a IoT tracker or something affixed to the part as soon as it arrives, or even when it is setting out from the location, and then you are able to see it on your mobile device where in the airport that part is. So these are kind of practical applications which are happening right now. I myself was involved in a POC of going and showing that inside in the hub of the airport to a major airline company in the US. Their interest was saying, okay, you know what, what technology will it communicate using Wi-Fi? When it comes near the building, it can use Wi-Fi, but when it is away from the building, it may need to use the cell phone or some other signal kind of thing. But real life problems being addressed by modern technology being used in a unique and different way. So that's the point. Whether it is lathe being connected to internet, whether it is a spare part being connected to the internet, whether most of us won't even think that such a problem exists, कि airline वालों को पता ही नहीं है कि spare part कहाँ चला गया. But this is a problem. Thank you. Anything else?
Thank you. Anything else, anybody?
No, I think this session can go on.
Yeah. I think may I ask Mr. S.K. Verma to.
Yes, I was waiting for that moment. Deepak ji, I'm just reminded of
very enlightening session. Kindly go to things.
Deepak ji, I was just reminded of one incident in Ramayana. जब हनुमान जी के ये बताया गया था कि how much capacities he has, he was to be told. और इसी तरीके से आज का पूरा सेशन जो है, आपने हम सबको ये बताया कि हमारे अंदर कितनी कैपेसिटीज हैं, कितना क्रिएटिविटी है, उसको कैसे एक्सप्लोर करके कैसे सरफेस पे लेके आया जाए, कैसे यूटिलाइज किया जाए. That you have done the job of a mentor. Thank you so much. It has been very enlightening, very guiding session for all of us. I express my gratitude to GMA also for bringing us together at this platform.
Yep. So एक हनुमान जी की बात पर तो एक बात मुझको कहनी पड़ेगी जो कि इस चीज में बड़ी रेलेवेंट है. हनुमान जी जब लंका के लिए जा रहे थे तो वो राक्षसी निकली थी समुद्र में से एंड उसने उनका रास्ता रोकने की कोशिश की थी. एंड देन सो he first of all he started becoming bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and then उसने अपना मुंह बड़ा करती गई then he went inside the mouth and then came out as a very small form he adopted and came out, which is again a lesson in adaptability kind of thing. Based on the situation you became bigger, you became small, means you have to deal with things according to what the circumstances are. So
you can have a strategy.
रामायण और महाभारत में इतने इंस्टेंसेस हैं जो इन प्रेजेंट मार्केटिंग मैनेजमेंट के लिए बहुत ही इंपॉर्टेंट हैं.
That is where it differs, the strategy and tactics. Strategy you have to formulate.
Strategy
but tactics is at the 11th hour. What tactics?
But the strategy is that you have to have the resilience. So you are building the capability that allows you to become big and small. And then the tactic is that when the situation, you come across the situation, then you adopt and you do it. But if you are very right, if you had not spent the effort to build that capability of becoming big as well as small, you would not have been able to do it when the situation happened.
So nice, wonderful session we had.
Thank you.
So thank you very much, Deepak.
And thank you. Thanks. I felt I was amongst friends. I enjoyed it so much. Bada maza aaya. And let's continue the conversation. Feel free to reach out, drop me an email, connect with me on LinkedIn. I'm very, very accessible. And if I can help you in any way, anytime, just let me know.
Right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you, friends. Thank you so much. Let us call it a day.
Okay.
Okay. Bye-bye.